Welcome to today's episode of Blending Fab, a podcast all about relationships where we explore expectations and lessons learned along the way. To keep up to date with what's coming up, be sure to follow us on Instagram at blending_fab. Let's get straight into it.
Evelyn, have you ever considered dating outside of your culture, outside of your race?
Yes, I have been for the most part of my life dating outside of my culture and outside of my race. So yes, is the answer.
Now, what was that process for you? Like, did something happen within your culture and you're like, I need to try something else? Like, what was that process for you?
Yes, much definitely. So I'm originally from West Africa. I'm from Cote d'Ivoire, and so I grew up in a very traditional African, French African type of culture. And I was always just a little rebellious, right? And so from the get go, I'm like, hey, I wonder what these other dudes over there or what all these other people over there are doing. Because one thing that you see a lot in within the culture in West Africa is that people are trying to get married in within they're matching families, right? They're
Okay.
matching you from the get-go.
Okay.
And I figured if I didn't want to be matched, I should stand against it. But in the same time, as I started to venture in within outside of my ethnicity and my culture, what I
Mhm.
realized was that a lot of these ancient and traditional methods, though they worked really well, let's put it that way, right? There's less divorce. A lot of it were also based on fear. People were just fearing what was different. They were just fearing what they didn't know. And so instead of them venturing and getting to know it, they just decided that this is not for us or this is not us. And so the more I discovered that, I just realized that we're all people and everybody kind of struggles with the same situation,
Right. Right.
especially when it comes to relationships, because
Hmm.
the same way we're fearing them, they're fearing us.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
we all hang out and we're like, wait, you like that too? I like that too, and then
Yeah.
we see similarities. So yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. It's interesting with the matching of the families, back in the day of the matching of like, this is who you're going to be with. And sometimes it was not who they preferred. Sometimes it did work out. Sometimes it
Yep.
didn't work out.
Yep.
And when it didn't work out, sometimes they were fearful to like leave that situation.
Yep.
Uh, was there a time where they were trying to match you with somebody? How was that process?
Oh yeah, was there a time? There still is a time because girl's still dating. Okay, she
Yeah.
ain't got no ring yet, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's in a good relationship. She's not in a situationship anymore. I've been in a couple of situationships. I'm in
Mhm.
a good relationship, right? But
Yeah.
mind you, I don't have the ring. I don't have the title as my culture knows it. So there's
Mm.
oftentimes this, hey, you remember so and so, like his son, he's doing well, and there's all of that kind of going on. So yes, back then they were, and now they still are.
And I think the hard part of that is that if you're in front of the person who's like, he's single, you're single, and it's like you're not attracted to the person at all, or they did something, or it's like it's totally like a brother to me, or
Thank
whatever's going through
you.
your mind, it could be embarrassing if the other person did have thoughts of like, wait, she is nice. Someone you'd be heartbroken by the other.
It's so interesting you say that. Like we have somebody right now that if it's a friend of ours, like we kind of grew up with him, right? And so it's kind of like, hey, you single, he's single, and we're both like, we kind of cool, but I see you like a brother. Like I don't see
Yeah,
you more than that. Like it just doesn't.
yeah.
It really creates this kind of awkwardness.
Hmm.
And I love what you said earlier, how like people will stay, and now we people like, oh, I'm in a dysfunctional relationship or
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
But it used to be like that too, where people will stay because they don't want to rough any feathers. And
Right.
we know that in this particular case,
Mm.
if we were to start anything, it will become a whole two family
Yeah.
situation where
Yeah.
we'll find ourselves staying into something, God forbid we don't like it. Now we're stuck, right?
Right.
Because now there are whole other two villages that are coming together,
Yes.
and
Yes.
all cousin Shanuika and cousin this are now up in your business. So
Yes. Yes.
we know that.
Yes, yes. And that's interesting too. Of like, the guy he's like a brother and things of that sort. It makes me think of like that friend zone thing and how sometimes you get put in the friend zone and you was wishing that it was more, and sometimes you're like, nope, we good being friends, and they're wishing that it was more. And again, sometimes it could come around where it does work out. Again, sometimes it'll come around and it doesn't work out. It's really good just staying friends.
Yeah.
How has that process been for you of being friend zone when it was somebody in the past? Because right now you're in a relationship of like, oh, I thought this could have been something.
You know, it's not pleasant,
Mm-hmm.
right? And let's put that out there. I friend zone people too. But
Mm-hmm.
what I've grown to realize is it's actually better off to be friend zoned
Mm-hmm.
than to pursue something that isn't going to lead to something. But
Mm.
what's hurtful is when somebody is friend zoned or when you friend zone somebody and there's no way to be transparent about it.
Wow.
Okay. I like being hot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's be HOT,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's be honest, open, and transparent. So
Yes.
whatever you find yourself in a situation, you always want to be hot. Just
Mm-hmm.
please be
Yes.
honest, open, and transparent.
Yes.
Because if we're going to move this forward, if we're not going to go on a second date, if we're going to be friends, the conversation,
Yeah.
because think about it. Every relationship advice out there is like, oh, you should be with your friend. You want to marry your best friend or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and we know it's not, it doesn't feel good to be friend zone. So how do you deal with that? It's
Yeah.
just being transparent with the other person, like, hey, yo, this is where I'm at. I don't really see like this is where you're going right now. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that this is where it's gonna stay. Like it could change because we
Yeah.
gotta remember we a relationship is a place you go to give, not to get, but it takes two
Mm.
healthy people to be given. Because the
Yeah.
way we find ourselves in unhealthy relationship is that we're the only one giving, especially women. We're easy to
Mm-hmm.
give, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're
Mm-hmm.
not getting. So it's like we're watering them, we're filling up their tank, their
Got
love
it.
tank, and we're not receiving that. And so once you realize that for yourself as a woman, you can sit in that conversation and be like, you know what, you're a good person, just not for me right now. Because what I want to be doing with my life is looking towards the same direction with the same person, right? I often give people this analogy. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area right now, and I happen to live in a town that is very central. And there's two opposite airports, right? And so I tell people if we got into a car and one person was going this way and the other person was going that way, there's nothing wrong with our destination. It just happens that it's not facing the same way. Where when it comes to relationships, we all want to be going towards the same direction. We may not
Yeah.
take the same route, but at least we're heading south together. And so
Yeah.
when you know that, then you can sit in that conversation and be like, hey, right now, let's just be friends because I'm trying to go north, you try to go south, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all good. Nothing wrong with the destination. We're just in a different place. And
Yeah.
that's what you are. You're just being honest and
Yeah.
open and transparent, and it's cool. Don't go on multiple dinners if you ain't gonna do nothing with the dude. Okay, girls? Come on. Let's put that out there.
Put that out there. Now, I like this hot, but if I'm honest, being hot is hard sometimes. Because again, it's that fear of rejection, right? And how open can you be and it be received? How transparent can you be and it's received well? And it's almost like a risk that you just have to take of
Yeah. Yeah.
either it's gonna work or it's not gonna work. Here we go.
Right, but the thing about relationships is this, and I really love just listening to all the folks that you've had on this, because people come here and they drop gems. People, like, if you haven't listened to the past like episodes, come on. And if you, I don't know where you are, like if you're single, the best
Mhm.
time to study for a test is before you take it. So
Yes.
come on here, go back and watch all these episodes, share it with your single friends. If you're
Yes.
married, you can still have a good grade, you can still fix it. Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yes.
So people come here and they drop these little nuggets that I've been just really loving in the past couple of days and just kind of listening to it.
Mhm.
It's so important, and many guests have said that before. It's important to know who you are,
Mhm.
because whatever it is that you're looking for, child, it is known to the other person. They don't have it.
Mm.
They don't. They don't have your happiness. They don't
Mhm.
have your joy. They
Mhm.
certainly don't have your peace. So when you take time and you find that,
Mhm.
then these conversations, even though they're hard, even though they're complex,
Mhm.
like, I love myself enough to sit down and look at a man on date one and tell him, I'm dating for marriage. Okay? You can be 48 and be try to see where things go. Nothing wrong with that. Guess where I'm at? I'm dating for marriage. Doesn't
Yeah.
make you wrong, doesn't
Yeah.
make you right. We're just at a different place. So it's a
Yeah.
hard conversation, but it fits into who Evelyn is right now and where
Mm-hmm.
she's going with her life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
I like
that
that.
is it's literally like self-care.
Yes.
It is. Like
Mm.
it literally is. Like you know how
Yes.
you get a massage to make your muscles feel better? That's
Yes.
it. Like I'm gonna tell you the truth because
Mhm.
this is what I need right now. This is for me. It's not for you. So I hope that helps.
It does. I mean, you are gathering us all together tonight. And it's good because you want to know what your expectations are. You want to share what your expectations are early because you could find out later down the line, oh, you didn't want to get married? Oh, yeah, no, I'm never getting married. What? We've been on all these, and you didn't have that conversation. That is a tough spot to be in, because you've invested some time, you've invested some open transparency of sharing who you are. And you feel like you don't make this connection, and then you find out that he or she don't want to get married. That could be
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
it is. We're not asking you to get married tomorrow. Again,
Yes,
we're not saying let's walk down the aisle, let's elope to Vegas tomorrow. That's not what we're saying. We're
yes,
just saying let's walk together in agreement in
hmm,
where we're heading out.
yes,
Because even if it doesn't pin out the way we want to, we
hmm,
both are going to grow
yes,
towards that direction.
yes.
Because I don't know if any of them married friends have told you all, but marriage is hard. Marriage comes with hard conversations. You think first date conversations are
Yeah.
marriages, you don't get to buy that purse with our money without having a like so you are going to have to practice these things before you get to it, right? And when you understand that you're both in it to build something, then the
Hmm.
conversation can be something like, hey, I don't know yet if you're my forever, but if you are my forever or when I'm with my forever, here's a decision that I would like to run by them. So you're
Yeah.
literally getting your work out
Hmm.
before you even get there because you
I,
don't get up and run a marathon, right? You're going to have to
yes.
work out. And
Yeah.
that's what relationship, that's what dating allows for us, right?
Yes.
Like the world has made it so that dating is all about like how we're cute, how we're hot together, and how we're sexually compatible. And all of
Hmm.
these things should be there, but we're going to have hard conversations. That's
Yes.
dating. We're
Yes.
going to learn to run things by each other. We're going to learn to like solve conflict together because we
Hmm.
will have conflict, right? We
Yeah.
started this conversation by saying what it is like to date outside of your culture.
Hmm.
Dating outside of culture, like, I don't know, do you have any siblings?
I
Jen?
do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. So think about your siblings. You all were, fed by the same parents, got the same DNA. Do you ever agree on anything?
Mm. Sometimes, sometimes not.
Exactly, right? So that's
Mhm.
that's siblings. Imagine now we're taking somebody from another house that has
Mhm.
another core set of core everything and culture,
Yes.
and we're
Yes.
bringing us together. It is challenging. It is a lot of listening. It is a lot of seeing things from somebody else's perspective. And you need time to practice that stuff. It doesn't happen overnight. And that's what dating allows us, right? I can be dating and teaching, like learning how to listen, how to have hard conversations, how to check myself. I need to check myself a lot because I can be too transparent sometimes, right?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
And you can't be 100% always, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
just kind of like learning these empathy and just skill set, it's allowed
Yes.
to like be built during the dating process.
I love this. I love this. I like the part too of like sharing, like, I'm not saying we're getting married tomorrow. I'm not saying we're getting married today or next week, but I'm saying eventually that is the goal that I have. So if that is not something that you are interested in, please let me know as soon as you find out that's not what you're interested in. Don't hold me back from reaching potential with somebody that is interested in that. And that goes again both ways. If you feel like you never want to be married, if you feel like you don't want to be in it for the long haul, you feel like this is just a cuffing season situation as cuffing season is coming to an end, be clear with that, be honest with that, because it saves us a lot of drama and trouble when it does come to that dead end.
It really does. And we are in the culture in the country where everything that you sell has a buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about it that way. Like literally everything that you sell has a buyer, right? Like Look at the cereal aisle. Look at the water aisle. Like how many sparkling waters are out there, but we all are still buying them. What is
Yeah.
Evelyn trying to say? There
Yeah.
is a person for your situation. If your
Yes.
situation is half a coughing season, ain't nothing wrong with it. I'm not the person. But
Yeah.
also, when I communicate my goals and my intention, it makes it clear to the person why I do certain things that I do. Does that make sense? Like, you
Yeah. Yeah.
cannot come to the table and say, I'm here to date for marriage and I'm here to date to move something forward. And you are the chick who can't pick up a phone call or even check a text back in for 6 hours, because that's not how marriage is going to work.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, I remember dating somebody in the past that will like go for days without
Mhm.
answering text messages because that was their just their way of doing, right?
Uh,
And so and they will say something like, well, we saw each other at the gym this morning, or I saw your Instagram reel, so I know you cool, like I know you're okay, right? Like I know you're
mhm.
breathing, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
fine. But again, I'm dating for solid stuff, so I
Yeah.
want to check on you beyond I saw your Instagram reel, so I know you're okay. Like,
Yeah.
how are you actually doing? Because
Mhm.
maybe you snap a picture of a beautiful flower while you're on the walk crying your eyeballs out.
Yes. Yes.
I want to know that, right? Like I
Yes.
want to be there to
Yes.
support you. And
Yes.
these behaviors comes when somebody is trying to build something solid. And
Mhm.
so these two people together, it becomes really clear to us what one wanted and the other one didn't want, right? Because somebody could also say, and I've been in that situation where somebody's like, "Oh yeah, cool. Like, I'm of age or whatever that looks for me, and I think, marriage is all cool. Like my parents been married for 45 years, and I think it'd be nice one day to have that." And that's what got me. I was
Mhm.
waiting for the one day to arrive,
Ah.
but
Thank.
the behaviors did not add up.
Mhm.
And I'm not a bus stop. Like I'm not here. Like I'm not the bench to be
Mhm.
here waiting. Right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I made my own decision. I'm like, hey, I'm
Love
looking for
you.
solid behaviors show X, Y, and Z. These behaviors aren't for solid. So I don't have to wait for you for 6 years and then have
Mhm.
you realize and have an epiphany or aha moment. And then here I am calling my girlfriends and we're eating ice cream that we have no business eating because yeah, we didn't want to listen to the signs that were all over the wall.
Let's talk about so many things. This part with the signs and how we miss it. What do you lack of confidence? It's a whole bunch of different things that cause some signs. We feel like, oh, this is the one. I can change him. I could change her. It's gonna work out. It's gonna be amazing because he did this, she did that, and I just knew the stars are in alignment. And some things do come into alignment, but sometimes it's in alignment to tell you, run, baby, run, and we don't always do
Yes.
that, and then we're stuck.
All the signs were there. No, literally, like all the signs were all over the wall. It's so interesting because there's so many factors that plays into it. And I think one of such factors is ourselves not being transparent with ourselves. Like
Yeah.
when you don't know, baby girl, like when you're hurting or when you're looking for somebody to complete a certain size of you, which I have been too. Like
Mhm.
this is kind of what I love about like my relationship story and even my life story, right? Like I'm not talking to you from I've been married for 20 years. Like, I'm a nonprofit founder, right? And the last dude I was with, like to your point, like the signs were there and they were aligning for me to run this way. But a girl decided, oh, I'm gonna be here. Like, what else am I gonna be doing? Right. But when it came down to it, and this person literally dumped my luggages and my 13 boxes in my apartment while I was in West Africa feeding COVID widows. Like literally, I was serving meals to widows. This
Wow.
person packed my stuff in their car because they couldn't deal with a woman being this independent and running this ministry and doing all of this, right? And I came home and I remember chatting with one of my girlfriends and I was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe, like, we talked about even if we got to break up, like doing it in person. And my friend was like, this person kind of broke up with you on a text message the first time. Like, when you all first met, like you decided like he was going to change and the stars was going to like whatever the mental situation was. And what it boiled down to for me was that I missed the mark for self honesty from the beginning. I missed that mark. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about it. Like, it was my own mark that all of these things were not aligning. And
Mhm.
I chose to chill with it for a minute.
Mhm.
And a minute turns into months, and it almost turned it into a year. And so I think, like, with everything that we've just named being true, the first person you have to be true to is yourself.
Mm. Whew. When you said that your friend said he kind of broke up with you in text when y'all first, like, wait, I
This
went on
ain't
this
me.
road with a red flag on the first. What?
That whole flag was red. I went and found white paint and put it in it and turned it pink. You know what I'm saying? When you're like,
Yeah.
well, he was just stressed out. Well, he misinterpreted this behavior that I did. What, like, girl, you ain't got to put white paint in it to make it pink. It's red.
Yes.
Red is red.
And
I
pink
don't
is
care if
still
it's
a
burgundy.
concern.
Red is red. Go.
Yes. Yes. Oh man. And guys, to the guys that, tune in, the same for you. Sometimes you miss some places. Like, she just having a bad day. Her friend is here and things of that sort. But then when her friend ain't here and she's still doing those things, like, wait, so this is something you always do? You gotta reevaluate. But again, sometimes we get so comfortable or we feel like we have somebody we could talk to, we could chill with, we could hang with. But if it's not going nowhere, we wasting time.
Thank you so much for bringing the guys up, because I do have friends and guys who are younger, older than me, that I get the privilege to advise sometimes.
Mhm.
And guys are the most, like, misled. Like, we think women are out there having a hard time dating, but guys are the most misled. Like, these women be out there going out on dates with you because she tried to just get a free meal, right?
Mhm.
Or she just tried to put on this dress that she just bought and it's
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna put my lipstick on. And I'm like, come on, ladies, right? And guys will be in things, and they, like, with my friends, what I've realized is they can read red flags as things that are cute in the beginning. Because think about it, us ladies, we're cute. You put a little perfume on it, we smell good, right?
Yes.
So a
Yes.
guy is, like, easily kind of, like, swayed with certain behaviors where it's like you just said, like, oh, well, she was like that because she was tired.
Mhm.
No, she just snapped out of nowhere. Like,
Mhm.
whatever the situation may be,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm always telling friends, like, look for little subtle signs. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
how is she saying thank you when the waitress come over and, like, put on that plate in front of her? Like, what comment does she makes on her fellow women or on your fellow man as a
Yeah.
waiter when they walk away from the table, right?
Yeah.
And all these little things, like, they're not going to go away. Like, the same way guys don't change, us women, we amplify. Like, think about it. Women's are multiplier. You give us an egg, we give us a child. You give us a house, we make it a home, right? So we have the multiplying effect by just nature. That's what we do. So if we're
Wow.
doing this much drama on date one,
Mhm.
add the yeast to it, we're gonna multiply this thing when you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
you're on a date, she's like, who's our friend calling you? You're like, oh, it's so cute, she cared for
Mhm.
me. Child, your sister ain't gonna be calling you anymore when she's your girlfriend. Your mother ain't gonna be talking to you when she's your wife. It's only gonna multiply from there, because that's what we do. We're
Oh,
good like that.
oh, ouch on the toes on today. Okay. But again, we gotta pay attention. And I think so, like, in creating blended fab, that's what my heart was of, like, blending the family's attitudes and beliefs, but also being aware if it doesn't align with what it is that you are interested in, what it is that you like, what it is that you want. Again, yes, there is some compromise, there is some sacrifice, but there's sometimes where it's just totally opposite. It's like, that's not going to work for me, and we have to be that hot, that honest, open transparency
Yeah,
of saying, this is what I need. It's like, even with the love languages, like, I can keep giving you gifts, but if that's not your love language, you're going to feel unloved because I'm not spending time with you, or I'm not doing physical touch, or I'm not doing words of affirmation. It's not until I hit on the nose of what it is that you need that,
yeah,
oh, you done hit my spot. I could be with you. I could vibe with you. I could groove
yeah,
with you.
yeah,
But we have to pay attention to find out what that is that causes that person to thrive. And if we are open to doing that,
yeah.
or if we need to find somebody else.
Yes. And one advice that I give myself when dating became really, really hard is you have got to date for the future. Like
Yeah.
for your purpose, for where you're heading, for tomorrow. Like literally, take a minute and envision yourself, whether you're a man or a woman,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Where are you heading? And does this fit in? Because then you're going to start to look at these little things, right? Like, I'm trying to get back there and get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm listening to the choice of habits that we have. Like, where are we eating? How many times we're eating out? How many times are we, you know what I mean? Like, this is for tomorrow. Like, my health is not about fitting in a pair of pants. It's not about fitting in a dress. It's
Yeah.
about being healthy long term and not like, you know what I mean? Like being healthy and not wasting money on hospital bills and what have you. And
Mhm.
so it becomes a thing for the future and for purpose that I want to walk in with you and not
Yeah.
right now. Because right now, what I really want to do is get hot with you and get on the couch, right? I want to Netflix and chill.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
comes Monday morning, what's purpose? Like what's tomorrow, right? Like I want to build. Now, is
Yeah.
Netflix and chill building? And if that's that, then let's speak each other's love language, right?
Yeah.
Because that's when it becomes easy, right? Like
Mhm.
if I want to Netflix and chill and your love language is physical touch, we're on that couch, we're cuddling, we're together.
Yes. Yes.
But if I'm going for something different,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't even have to be marriage or buying houses or whatever, but it's like something as
Yes.
simple as health. Like
Yes.
I'm just trying to, close the rings or the circles or whatever it is on your fancy watch. Like that's what I'm trying to do.
Yes. Oh,
How is this? Because it's a collaboration. Let's
yes.
think about it, guys, for a second, right? Like we invest so much in finding the car we want to drive. And even now for us women, like we're empowering each other to find good friendships that are going to sow into us and all of that. And when it comes to like picking our partners and folks that we're going to be intimate with, we kind of like, we just want to get hot with it and get moving, right? But it's like, no, like this is important. Like, who are you trying to be, sister? Who are you trying to be, brother? And how does this fit in there?
Yes. I love this. Oh, we got to know what the future is, and it's different for everybody.
It
I
really
heard
is. It
someone there
really
was
is
talking
different for
about
everyone.
how they didn't want to have any children. So then when you get with somebody, that is a conversation to be had. Because if they're
Girl.
expecting to have children, you don't want to have children, or they have children and you don't want to have children, eventually it has to come up. I was watching Love is Blind,
Mhm.
and the young lady was hesitant to share, even though she felt that, her daughter was her life. I think it was her daughter, her child was her life. And then she still was hesitant to share. And when she first shared, the guy on the other side was like, because it was a lot to take in for him, because he had now built this connection and now found out this thing about her. And I get building up to find out who the person is. But there's also some conversations we can't skip out on or delay too long because it can cause different responses. And
This
I
is a whole human. What are you gonna do? Hide them for forever? Like, I became a mother at 16, right? So at that point, you get pregnant at 16, your life stops, guys. Like it literally does. And then you become a buy one, get one free type
uh-huh.
of deal, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, right?
Mhm.
And my son is an adult now. He's out of the house. He has his own life going on, but he's a part of me. Like I'm gonna talk about him and all the time, right? And I'm also dating somebody who was previously married and had kids. Like this is going to affect when and how we meet. In addition to our schedules being different and everybody being busy, you can hide that. Like, what are you going to do? Like,
Yeah.
pretend you're taking care of your sick grandmother every other Saturday? Like,
That has been said and done. It's my grandmother. I gotta go check on her. It's
yeah.
another family sometimes. I
My
mean,
mom just called. No, you picking up your own kid from
yeah,
like, just come on, people.
yes.
Come on.
It's definitely the conversations to be had.
Yes.
Even of different preferences and things of that sort, or just all aspects of life where if you feel like it's a hot topic amongst people, it's a hot topic that you want to bring up with that person that you're saying that you want to be with, whether you're with them for a season, a lifetime,
Yeah.
a year, you know, there are
Yeah.
some things that you want to bring up. And you have to have that conversation of one, knowing when to be that transparent. Because like you say, you know, sometimes you can share a little too much. We all can.
Yeah.
Um, social media is the prime example. I just went to the bathroom. I just washed my hands. I just brushed my teeth. I just brushed my hair. You know, sometimes we can share too much.
Yeah.
And I get it. Some people, they feel like they have to do that because they want to be accountable and things of that sort. But then
Hmm.
you learn what you can share when you can't share. But again, learning the path of those hot topics to share,
Yeah.
uh, so that you kind of stay in the same vein. Because if it comes out too late and y'all all invested, again, people's capacity is different of how they respond to things.
Yeah, it is. And as you're sharing, my number one advice is this. Remember, it's sharing, right? Sharing happens in a healthy way when two people are doing it. If I'm just giving something to Jen, I'm not sharing, I'm dumping my crap on her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm in my 40s, right? So the rest of us, like, we've lived life. Like, I'm not just in my 40s. Like, I've lived on three different continents
Mm-hmm.
before I was even 30. Like, I speak multiple languages, like, you
Right.
know. So there's a lot of baggages that comes with me. And so we women of this age can get out there and be like, that's what I am. I'm going to give you all of that in date one. That is what you are, but you just ain't got to serve all that meal. Like, just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
give a starter. Like,
Yeah.
here's something light, but
Yeah.
like a little head, you know, and then practice listening and
Mm-hmm.
check how they respond. Because there's this concept that many people are not aware of as much as we're aware of the five love languages.
Mm-hmm.
And this is called safe people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you want to be a safe person for other people, and you want other people to be a safe people for you. And what this means for somebody to be a safe person is, how does Jane react when I share my deepest feelings with her? Does she
Mm-hmm.
become uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
does she become, you know, like,
Yeah.
do I go around and hear that in kind of like a funny joke tomorrow? Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Vice versa. And
Yeah.
what that allows me to decide and to decipher is this friendship that we're building early on. Like, are you trustworthy? Can I
Mm-hmm.
tell my can I lean in a little more with you? Can I
Mm-hmm.
tell you a little more? Can I trust you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, my partner and I had a conversation not too long ago, and it was about trusting the other person to give them your heart. And it was just as simple as that, but it was also deep. It wasn't just like, oh, I love you, oh, I love you. Like, I love you like the creator of the Almighty. Like, you're wonderfully made. So I love you when I meet you as a fellow sister, as a fellow human. But how do I learn to trust you with my heart and give it to you, and not know that you're gonna betray it, you're not gonna, take care of it, you're gonna care for it? Like, how do I know that? And that is what we decided to build for one another. Like, let me become that person for you that you can fully trust with your heart, and vice versa. Because that is beyond the cute I love you in the text messages and the heart
Yeah.
emojis
Yeah.
with the wings. I don't even know what that one means, but there it is, right?
Yes. Yes. And it's funny because like people attest you essentially. All right, let me tell this. Okay, she took that well. Let me tell this. Oh, he took that well. Let me tell this. They took that well. And
Yeah,
how they respond. Are they asking questions and then find out a little bit more about it? Or are they kind of like, yep, I'm not opening up that can of worms. And I get it, because if it's not something you feel like you have the capacity to talk about, maybe you are going through something similar and you're not ready to process it. I get it. But how are you showing yourself to be present in what it is that they're sharing? Because some of these things that are shared from the heart, like I could share, yeah, I lost my mom, and they'll be like, oh, how did that make you feel? Or, ask them more questions like, what's one of your favorite memories? Because that
yeah,
helps you also not to go down to the spiral of being sad of it, It's like,
right.
okay, I see you, and things of that sort. So it's like, as you're sharing these things, you learn about that person, and you be like, oh, well, that happened. It might, if analyze people like, oh, that's why you do X, Y, and Z. Now, don't do that, because that might not be why they do that. But,
Right. Yeah,
just be open to finding out who that person is. If you're really engaged, if you really care, if you're really concerned,
yeah.
you'll go into that and embrace that and accept that.
I love what you just said about they can say, I'm not ready to talk about that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, that's a character trait
Yeah.
that it's hard to come by. Like, because I'm quick to speak, but I should be quick to listen, right? And that's what you want, like you want people that are in tune with themselves and their emotion enough to recognize when they don't have the ability to process something as it comes out of your mouth. That ability to say, you know what, let's put a pin on that. You know what, I don't think this is a conversation that we should be having at this stage. That's not a bad thing. That is a sign of somebody that is mature, because somebody that isn't mature is going to give you a off the shelf pretty quick, fast food ready quick answer, right? And then they're like, oh my god, did I say the wrong thing, did I say the right thing? Like, you're too animated for me. But even that, like sharing something and somebody goes, oh wow, I bet that must be hard, but you know what, how about we talk about that some other time? Like, I'm not really sure how I feel about this right now. That is such a sign of maturity that we oftentimes miss in the dating line, especially us women, because we
Yeah.
we we want to talk about that. We want to get to the bottom of this thing.
Yeah. 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 Ah, I love it. And even being honest, if you have shared, and it's becoming overwhelming for you, or it's evoking some feelings in you that you thought that you had dealt with and you hadn't quite dealt with, saying, all right, that was enough, maybe, let's just, end it here and things of that sort. Um, and then again, whatever the response is of like, accepting it and things of that sort, not pressuring you, because it can become overwhelming. Life, in life, like no other life can, and you want to be able to be supported, like say a little bit, hold a little bit until you're ready
Yeah,
to continue
yeah,
to keep on deving it out. Because in
yeah,
some communities, we don't really talk to a therapist. We don't really think mental health matters.
yeah,
And it does. These
yeah,
different things that have happened can have different effects on us and how we respond, how our anger is, how, our temper is, how our love is. All of these things make up who we are. And we have to be able to explore those things to know. And it's always recommended, that people like, date them in all seasons. So you kind of see how they are in the summer, in the winter, in the fall. But like, you a different person when the spring comes. I mean, it's this new spring in your step and you're just doing a lot. What's going on? You got to have
right,
a conversation
yeah.
and really pay attention, because we don't pay attention.
Really, really pay attention, guys, because this is why it's so important to be able to listen versus speak.
Mhm.
You learn so much when you listen, right? Like that experience where somebody dumped me while I was feeding people in Africa. Um, there were signs that I've missed. Like, actually, I didn't miss them, but you know how when you listen to people, you get to learn how they talk about
Yeah,
people that have been in their life in the
yeah,
past.
yeah, yeah.
Are they forgiving? Do they respect other people's different opinion? Because that's the new world we're in. We all have the right to say something, and then the next person doesn't have the right to disagree. Boom, we put a label on them, right? Like whatever that label is. So you get to learn that about somebody when you listen in. When you listen in, because somebody who's trying to like be with you, oh, they're gonna tell you all the right stuff. They're gonna tell you that the other person was, she was kind of crazy, or he was kind of too much, or he was this or that, because they're trying to mold you into what it is that they need right now. So they're feeding you what it is that you need to like hear, literally, right? I mean, who's never been on a first date? Like, have you heard the stuff people say on the first? I'm like, why would you say that? They're like, well, she felt like I felt like she wanted to hear that, right? And so listening is going to allow you, like for me, guys, I'm a woman advocate, education, like I'm a girl power all the way through,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like the day you'll find me talking down about another woman is not tomorrow. Let me tell you that right now. And so when I sit with somebody who's doing that,
mhm,
I'm now starting to wonder, how are you going to talk about me when I'm not in the room?
mhm,
How are you gonna represent me when
mhm,
we have a disagreement? Because
mhm,
will remember when different culture with different
mhm,
people, yeah, right? She like she just
mhm.
grabbed it because they will. So
Yeah.
make sure you are listening to them and figuring out, hmm, okay, really? Because the moment you step on their wrong toe, guess who's gonna be the new character on their horror story? It's
Yep.
sure gonna be you.
Yep. Mm.
And if a guy out there and respecting you, sister, I mean, look at us. We're
Yeah,
beautiful. We're smart. We're
we
bright.
are. We are.
We are, right?
We
So,
are.
so if you're sitting over here telling me about her any kind of way,
Yeah.
and women think like,
Hmm.
oh, he's doing that because she was this and that. No, sweetie. Like, know your gender. We're
Hmm.
not we're not as bad as the world wants to make us seem, right?
Yeah.
We're very smart women. There was a
Yeah.
smart woman in this person's life one time. There was a smart man in this woman's life one time.
Hmm.
Listen to the subtleties of what was done and how it's being dealt with, because
Yeah.
that is going to help you
Absolutely.
a lot.
Absolutely. And both sides, my brothers, listen. Um, when somebody is telling you something, we're not always listening, like you said, but sometimes they're telling you what it is that they want. They're telling you what it is that they need. They're telling you who they are. And they say, when someone tells you who they are, believe them,
Please
you
do.
know? But sometimes we don't believe for whatever the reason.
Yeah.
And there can be times where like they do change and it's like, oh, this is going good, but a zebra can't change its stripes.
No. No, they just can't, and it really takes challenges, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
This is the part that just drives me bunker when people are like, "Oh, it's going so well, like we never fought." I'm like, please go step on their toes, because that's when the true self will come out,
Yes, yes,
right? I,
yes.
I have this Evelyn. I call her Evelyn BC.
Okay.
So when you're dealing with Evelyn, all you try to do is to have Evelyn BC not come out.
Yes.
But the thing is, you don't want to call Evelyn your best friend until you've seen Evelyn BC,
Me too.
because she is a whole nother
Come on.
bird.
Come on. Come on.
Like she comes on with a whole suitcase, her whole zip code. She got
Yes.
a whole nother
Yes.
queendom going on for herself. All right. So
Yes.
you need to meet that part of me before you can truly be like, yeah, I'm a vibe with this girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So don't be like, we're so cool. We've been dating for 6 months. We haven't even had one argument.
Mhm.
Men like that,
Yeah.
because some men have been so scarred by women, like try to share themselves. They've seen it as dramatic, as overreactive. And so they're sitting with passive aggressiveness of some sort. And I'm like, child, that is a minefield. And when it explodes, there's not going to be a piece of you that we can put together. Like Humpty Dumpty got a chance over you, child. Like Humpty Dumpty could be put back together. But when this, you
Wait, not Humpty Dumpty got a chance over you,
Humpty
man.
Dumpty can be put back together. When she explode, your
Yes.
brain, your fingers, we cannot put any part of you together. So please make
Yes.
sure that you're seeing people in
Yes.
challenging situations.
Yes.
Like a little bit
Mhm.
road rage. You're like, wait, what
Mhm.
did you just say? What?
Yes.
And that gives you a little bit of their true color right there.
Yes. Yes. And you want to see that because again, nobody's perfect. We all have a day. Even on my best day, somebody could do something and I'd be like irritated. It's like, all right, y'all need to figure this out. Or road rage, everybody doesn't have road rage, but there's sometimes when we're driving on the road and somebody darts in front of you or does something, you'll be ready to do a couple of things. And the times we're living in, please don't do a thing. Just say, God, give me peace, things that sort, because times has changed.
If
Um,
she said, God give me peace, you're good. Like I have road rage in French.
okay.
Now people think that's cute. I'm like, that's because you don't know what I'm saying.
And and that's the saving grace until we come across somebody they do know what you're saying is a different situation, right? But we want to just be careful in those moments. And then sometimes where somebody will cut me off and I'll be like, I'm gonna let it slide because I probably cut somebody else too. Is that my response all the time? Absolutely not. Because sometimes I am not as early as I need to be to get to where I'm going, or traffic has now stopped me and I got this little thing on my shoulder that feel like, tell them how you feel. Give them a
Right.
look, give them a look, give them a finger. Whatever is going through your mind.
But now we're getting to see you under
Yes.
pressure,
Yes.
right? Have you ever seen that show? Got like what is it, Brazilla?
Yes.
Isn't it funny how all the men in Brazilla like never knew their bride was gonna be like that? I'm like, child, did you never step on her toe? Like you
Right.
gotta step. Like
Yeah.
I'm now knowing how you operate. Like under pressure, and I
Mhm.
can decide, right,
Yes.
that this is, because again, we all come with baggages. We're
Yes.
all going to have to find somebody that is willing to pick up our suitcase as we picked up theirs. So
Yes.
I, I'm not wanting you to not have no baggage. Please do, because if you don't
Yes.
have baggage,
Yes.
that's not good either, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that, like that, you during that time, like I get to see you on a good day. You like, Lord have mercy, bless them. I don't know, you're having a hard day. I don't know where you're going to. And then on the day that you don't have time to get there, you're showing me the you under pressure. And I get to see these two, and I
Yes.
get to see how I want to be friends or a mate or partner or a wife
Yes.
or a husband to this person.
Uh, but you gotta pay attention. You gotta let it ride for a little while.
Yeah.
And having grace too, because sometimes we're like, oh no, they done did that, they done show, they tell, they done embarrassed, they whatever. We're human, we mess up, right? So then I had a moment, and then like, I was really upset. This happened, this triggered me, then this happened, and that happened, and that's how the day went. And then you have to understand, but sometimes they be like, let me run and things of that sort. So also giving it a try and a chance, because you're not perfect either. Somebody step on your toe, you might say a couple of words in French, Spanish, English,
Speak-
whatever.
Speaking in tongues that needs no translation, I don't know what you do.
Yes, yes.
But
You might need
yeah,
to do a
but
little sign language.
yeah, thank you. Right. Thank you. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to say
Yeah.
this one here and close this out here. But I just love what you said about like taking the time to just kind of feel it yourself, right? Like,
Yeah.
because we too can do things that don't sit well,
Mm-hmm.
and we come into relationships, or we coming into dating scenarios wanting to like know what the other person is doing and wanting to just kind of assess them, which is great,
Yeah.
but we should put ourselves into situations where we assess ourselves as well, right?
Mhm.
I have an example in the early days of me and my current boyfriend dating. I asked some questions that,
Mhm.
for me, it was just kind of like, hey, I'm going to test the water. Like, I'm going to see,
Mhm.
what it is that I'm coming against or whatever the situation was. And then after he left, I just kind of felt like I overstepped my boundaries. I really did. I just overstepped my boundaries. And he was kind enough to answer because he knew where it was coming from. Like, he honored the intention, and he kind of honored that, and I was very grateful that he did that. But what bonded us in the future, in the outmat of that, is me picking up the phone and saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to recognize that I was totally out of line here. I was totally out of line. That was not acceptable. That crosses your boundaries. And if you don't have one, it should have crossed your boundaries. And I apologize for that. And that was a place for him to see, oh, wait, I'm with somebody who understands that she's not perfect. She's going to make mistakes, and she's going to own up to these mistakes, because he didn't call me out on it. I call myself out on it. Right. And so we can't just sit there and like put the other person against all of our standards and our list. We have
Yeah,
to do so for ourselves.
I love it. My last question for you is this: How do what's some words of wisdom to move from situationship entanglements to relationship? Because you say you had some situationships and things like that, but this is a relationship. What was the key factor for you? When this is different. I like this. This works good for me.
If you're in a situationship, run, find the nearest exit,
Yes.
run. But before you do, have a candid conversation, because sometimes people don't even know that they friend zone us or they situationship zoned us. We are in a world where a lot of us didn't get the privilege of seeing healthy relationship displayed to us. And so sometimes we don't know what we don't know until somebody's like, hey, this kind of feels like, you know, and then once you put it out that way, just kind of listen in. Just kind of listen in, because that will show you if they're doing this unintentionally, right? Or maybe there might be a behavior in you that makes people think, oh, she doesn't want that. Like, that's been my case very often, where people are like, oh, I never thought you would have wanted that. Like, you're like Miss Independent, like you're flying here, you're doing this, you're doing that. So I never thought like you would have wanted a boyfriend or a husband. Like, wouldn't that be just kind of stopping what you're doing. And I'm like, actually, no, I need a life partner. Like, I need somebody that's going to be doing this with me. Right. So that was one way that I checked it up very quick, because they thought, oh, she's too busy for that. She's too busy to invest in a relationship. But that was their perception of me. It was never something that I've voiced. It was never something that I've made clear. And so that conversation allowed that to move from a situationship to a relationship, or from a situationship to, you know what, this ain't gonna work. Let's find the next best person for the both of us.
Let me just drink my tea.
Thank you. And I want to let everybody else know here, like either women or man, something ending doesn't mean that you're a bad person or you're never gonna find somebody, or like this is it. It means that you're not the person for this person right now.
Yeah.
And the best is yet to come. And that best might be in you finding you. Like, I'm going to talk to all the single girls here who've taken time to find themselves. They got to a point where I was scared for myself, because I remember being in Bruges, in Brussels, and just having such a good time on a solo trip in this town that was supposed to be like a love town. And I'm like, I'm vibing so well with myself. I was like, this is a bit scary. Like, I kind of like this, right? And so, like, take time for yourself. Like, love on yourself, because that's gonna go such a long way. When that person comes, like, you guys are gonna be a sum of two whole numbers. You're not a half something looking for a half person to fill you up. Like, anybody got nothing to fill the other person. They just got themselves. And when you have yourself and you come together, that's when the magic is gonna happen. Where there's a situationship, coughing season, marriage, whatever it is, magic can still be in it.
Thank you for listening to the Blending Fab podcast. This podcast has been brought to you by our sponsor, Chosen Counselors. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us on Instagram at blending_fab. Check out this snippet from our next episode.
Kids for us, nobody's not going nowhere. Like, we make jokes about it all the time. Like I told Denise, look, stop. I'm not leaving. You're not leaving me. I'm not leaving you. Whatever problem we got, we gonna work it out together. If you got an issue, we gonna work it out. If I got an issue, we gonna work it out. Ain't nobody going nowhere. It's paperwork involved. Like, and I honor that. It's paperwork involved. Like, so, and honestly, God, and the willing heart to really want to, mean what you say and say what you mean. God.
Yeah. In addition to that, I would just add on, being real with yourself is so important. Being realistic with yourself and recognizing if you are the problem in the relationship. Because we come in and, like, we can sometimes fool ourselves into believing that we are not the problem. I have these amazing communication skills, and I'm speaking about me personally. Like, I can go outside and I can have an amazing conversation with anyone, and they'll I compliment me on how well I speak, and how well spoken I am, and the way I put my words together, and so on and so forth. But if I'm giving that to the outside world, but I'm not honoring my husband and giving that to him, what does that mean? That means that I'm not being honest and real with myself. So it took a lot of deep diving into who we are as individuals and what we were taught as effective communication, and really understanding what actual effective communication is for us to even begin the process to effectively communicate. Because even